everyone. Thank you for coming to my capstone presentation this evening. And before I get into my presentation, I want to ask you all one simple question. What is leadership? Feel free to raise your hand. Sorry, I don't got a lot of board space, but anybody want to say what they think leadership is?
Volunteering.
Yes.
What she said?
I said volunteering.
Anybody else? Don't be shy.
Organization.
Yes.
Telling people where to go.
I was gonna say that, but I was gonna say being bossy.
Empowering others.
Anybody else? Well, those are all some great ideas that you have on leadership. But today I'm here to talk to you about a different type of leadership. And that leadership is servant leadership. My goal tonight is to educate emerging or current servant leaders about servant leadership, talk about the origins of the term servant leadership, I'm going to talk to you about a gentleman named Larry Spears and his 10 characteristics that he felt every servant leader needs to have to be successful. And it wouldn't be a SARE presentation unless I talked about myself. So I'm going to give you my experience about being a servant leader. And I'm going to talk to you about my definition and my characteristics that I felt were necessary through my development as a servant leader. And so without further ado, let's get started. This gentleman here, his name is Robert Greenleaf, and I like to call him the father of servant leadership. Why? Well, while he was working at AT&T, he noticed that college graduates really weren't prepared to take on leadership roles in society. And he called this the leadership crisis, and that's what inspired him to write an essay in 1970 called The Servant as Leader. And in this essay, he coined the term servant leadership. And to simply put his definition into layman's terms, a servant leader is a servant first. Their purpose is to serve others. And I definitely agree with that statement. Along the way, a gentleman named Larry Spears, who I mentioned to you about earlier, he was so inspired by Greenleaf's essay that he came up with his own 10 characteristics about what every servant leader should have. And those characteristics include listening, empathy, healing, awareness, persuasion, conceptualization, foresight, stewardship, commitment to the growth of people, and building a community. And I'm going to discuss to you each and every one of them. The first is listening. As a servant leader, it's very important for you to listen to what is being said and unsaid. You need to listen to what the group wants or what their needs are. Empathy. As a servant leader, you need to learn to empathize with others. You got to put yourself in the other person's shoes. Because if you can't do that, how do you know how the members of your group are feeling? Healing. Unfortunately, as a servant leader, you're going to make people upset sometimes, and they're not always going to see eye to eye. And when they don't see eye to eye, you need to approach them and start to heal their relationships. One thing that my choir teacher in high school used to tell me all the time is, unless people aren't going to care about your cause unless they care about you. And so in order to accomplish a task, you need to heal those relationships. It's going to take time, but it'll get you eventually to your common goal. Awareness. You need to be able to have a sense of comfort that you can communicate what you're feeling to the members of your group and vice versa. You also need to realize that everybody has their own opinion and everybody has their own set of values that differ from person to person. And that's what makes us all unique. Persuasion. Rather than forcing your members of the group to do something, you want to convince them that what you're doing for the group is good. You don't want to force them by saying, if you do this, I'm gonna you just don't want to be rude about it because no one's going to respect you as a leader. Conceptualization. You need to be able to think outside the box because if you just focus on what's inside, you're missing out on achieving a long-term goal. It's great to have short-term goals, but let's turn those short-term goals into long-term goals. And by doing so, you have to think outside the box and look at the bigger picture. Foresight. This is something, according to Larry Spears, does not get as much recognition as it deserves, but I feel that it's very crucial. Foresight is simply put, learning from the mistakes of the past, realizing the realities of the present, and knowing the consequences of a decision in the future. For me, I have experienced this firsthand at the very start of my servant leadership. And let's just say I fell victim to the crappy end of the stick and had to suffer for a servant leader's stupidity. Stewardship. Stewardship is committed to serving the needs of others. And as a servant leader, since your purpose is to serve others, you do just that. And by serving others, it makes them feel good. It makes them feel, the members of your group feel like they're special, that you're focused on them. Which leads me to my next point, commitment to the growth of people. You see people for more than just a number or another face in the room. You see them for who they are as a person, as an individual. And here at W&J, I feel that this characteristic outshines all the rest. I can go to a professor that I haven't had since freshman year, and let's keep in mind they've had over 100 some students since then. They still know my name. They still know what my major is. They still know what activities I'm involved in. And because they remember me, it makes me feel good. And for them, that to me is a servant leader. And lastly, building a community. One of the biggest jobs that a servant leader has is building the community. From day one, you need to start building from the ground up. And by the last day of your group meeting or whenever the time has come to conclude, you want to have a sense of community. Because if you cannot bring everybody together, you are not even going to get past first base and accomplishing your goal. Now that I've talked to you about some characteristics about servant leadership and the origins of the term servant leadership, I'm going to jump in to my views on servant leadership and what I've taken away over the past couple of years. As you all know, I'm very involved with my sorority and Greek life on campus. And over the past 2 years, I have been very blessed to have several leadership opportunities. For Pi Beta Phi, I served as the Vice President of Housing for a semester. Then I went on to serve as the Vice President of Philanthropy for 2 consecutive terms. For the Panhellenic Council, which oversees all 4 sororities on campus, I had the opportunity to be the Public Relations Chair for 2014, and then in 2015, I was elected Panhellenic President. And unfortunately, my time as a servant leader in college is about to come to a close. I thought I would take some time to reflect upon what I have learned. And as I was doing my research, I thought, you know what, I'm going to develop my own list of characteristics and what I feel are necessary, as well as my own definition of what I think a servant leader should be. My definition is very simply put. A servant leader puts others before themselves. They do more than what he or she is asked to do and goes above and beyond the call of duty. And most importantly, they look at the big picture. This is something I would say that I'm pretty notorious for. I figure the more that I do and go above and beyond the call of duty, the members of my group will gain more. So for my characteristics, and it was really hard to narrow it down, but I got it down to 4 characteristics that I felt are very essential to not only my time as a servant leader thus far, but hopefully for all of you as well. Confidence, positive attitude, experience, and passion and dedication. Confidence for me is a big one because let's face it, if your leader is not confident, how are you supposed to be confident? You need to be able to walk into a room and command attention. You don't want to be that person that walks in and almost feels like they're sorry to even be there. Also too, when you first, for day one of your group, and you don't know any of these people, it's gonna take time to develop that confidence. You don't know how these people are going to be. You don't know what qualities they bring to the table. And in the back of your mind, you may question, is this really gonna work? But if you believe in them and they believe in you, you will accomplish your common goal. Positive attitude. I think this one's common sense because let's face it, who wants to be guided by someone that's a Debbie Downer? That's no fun. You want a leader that's confident and has an optimistic, personable, respectful, trustworthy, and caring, understanding kind of attitude. Because when you have somebody like that, it makes you feel good about yourself, and it also gives you that sense of comfort that this person knows how to lead a group of people, and it makes you feel comfortable to be around them. Experience. I feel like this one's a big one for me as well because let's face it, when you do job searches, they give you a whole list of criteria of what experience you need to have in this job or whatever job you're looking for. Because the more experience you have, the more comfortable you feel. So if someone that comes in here and says, you know what, I have been a leader for 20 different clubs and X, Y, and Z, you're gonna feel more comfortable than some random person off the street that's like, I don't even know what a leader is. I couldn't even tell you in one word. So for experience, that's a big thing to have. Lastly, passion and dedication. To me, I feel like this is what got me my re-election as Vice President of Philanthropy because not only was I passionate about being philanthropic to others, but I was also very dedicated to my organization as well. Whenever you're passionate and dedicated about something, not only are you going to put more effort in, you're also going to gain a lot out. And when you do that with a group of people, they will take away more than they ever thought because of your passion and dedication. You want to spend more time doing things like that. So after doing my research and reflecting upon my time as a leader, I came to two simple conclusions. Everyone has the potential to be a servant leader. Some of you in this room may consider yourselves more as followers, and that's okay. But after listening to Larry and mine's list of characteristics and our definitions, you may have sat and thought to yourself, hey, I actually have those qualities, or I think I do, and maybe I should consider going out for a leadership position in the future. And that's great. But the next conclusion I came to, I consider it the golden rule of servant leadership, and that is all leaders were once followers. You can never, we've all heard the saying, never forget where you come from. Same goes for servant leaders. As a servant leader, you need to be able to put yourself back in the follower's shoes. Think about what it was like when you were a follower. What you liked and disliked about the servant leader that inspired you to become a servant leader one day. So, to conclude my presentation this evening, I want to leave you all with a challenge that I hope you're willing to accept. And that challenge is simply, do you have what it takes to become a servant leader? Thank you guys.